This video is an open forum interview for our Vice President of Business and Administrative Services position. The candidate is Alexander Porter.
Thanks for having me here today. It's an honor to be here to interview for this position. Just tell you a little bit about myself. I'm originally born in St. Louis, Missouri. I've been in California since I was probably 10 years old, since we moved out here. Went to college at Long Beach State, live in Long Beach now. I've been married for about 15 years, make sure I get that right. To my beautiful wife, Heather. Don't have any kids of my own, but we did raise my sister. She came to live with us after my parents passed away, but we raised her. She's went and graduated from UCLA, and she's out earning a living and not living at home, which is really nice, so I enjoy that. But my professional career, I started out going to Long Beach State. While I was going to school there, I ended up getting an internship at Merrill Lynch. When I was doing that, I had every intention going to college of becoming a stockbroker. That was my original intent for my professional choice. Did that internship for almost a year, realized that I did not want to be a stockbroker, not the thing for me. And so I ended up getting a part-time job as a student assistant within the LA County court system, and then from there I kind of got started doing some public finance, doing some work within the LA County court system. They hired me right out of college to become their budget manager at the LA County court system, the South District, which covers the Long Beach, San Pedro areas, one of the larger courthouses in the system. Worked there for about 5 years. Did lots of work, not just locally, but also on the county-wide budget. Did a lot of trips up to San Francisco to work on the overall court system budget that got submitted to the legislature. And so I got some experience working at some higher levels there. Specialized in court security, of all things, but did some time working there. And then an opportunity came up to come work for the California State University system. Started over there as a budget analyst in the system-wide office. As I worked there for about 5 years. Got lots of experience working amongst higher education institutions, basically meaning that working at a centralized level dealing with local campuses. And so it gave me a perspective and an understanding about the demands and needs for an overall system versus the needs of a local campus. So it was an interesting perspective coming into to that situation. Learned a lot working for the budget office there. Lots of experience dealing with putting together the system-wide budget for the entire Cal State system. Dealing with local campuses, talking about specific finance and budgeting issues, student fee issues, lots of different experiences doing that. Had some time working, helping the system-wide HR representatives put together costing estimates for collective bargaining agreements. So I was able to gain some experience working there. And beyond that point, just kept working and realized that I needed to try something different and get something out and learn more than what I was learning at the central office. And so I took the plunge and went out to do some real work at a campus. Went out there and started getting some experience there. I first came to Cal State Long Beach, which is where I am at now. While I'm there, I started out in the enrollment management group, working and doing all the finances and HR and administrative functions for that group. Got some experience learning about financial aid and the demands and all the stuff that goes with that. Didn't do any particularly hands-on in terms of dealing with students on the financial aid, but more about supporting the financial aid group, about helping them do their mission and helping them get their work done. So I gained some experience in those areas, and then now in my current position, I'm working in the physical planning and facilities management group. I handle all of the HR, finance, IT, customer service, all the administrative functions for that area. That budget's about $30-some-odd million, 200 plus employees, so we're quite active over there. We got a active major capital program we're working on now. We're refurbishing quite a few different buildings. We just got through building a new music conservatory. We also just got through building a science building. That was about a $120 million project, so we're very proud of that building. It's broadened my experience in a lot of different levels to be able to understand all the different nuances of working in the facility side that I didn't have exposure to before, so it's been a great learning experience for me. So all that to say that over the course of my career, I've had a lot of different exposures to working at many different levels, from a central perspective to a local campus perspective, and dealing with the local issues and dealing with individual departments and so forth along the way. So I feel like it's prepared me a lot for coming into a position such as this. So I'm excited about the opportunity that's here. I'm excited about the possibilities of helping the students graduate and grow in this campus and helping out with building the buildings and keeping things clean and keeping things moving along. So I'm very excited about that. So I appreciate the time. And thank you. Why do I want to come here? Mr. Garcia asked me that same question this morning. And for me, the opportunity to come to a campus, I felt like my professional experience has prepared me for this position. Starting out very small as a student assistant and then working my way up through the organizations I've been a part of, whether it's with the county court system or with the Cal State system. I feel like I've gained a lot of experience dealing a lot with people, dealing a lot with folks, not just from the HR side, but from the finance side also. I just feel like this is the next evolution of me professionally, but also a great opportunity to actually make a big difference in a community and a campus such as this. In my current position, I do feel like there's challenges on a daily basis to do the things that need to get done. But I feel like I could be doing so much more. And I feel like when this opportunity came up, it was a great opportunity for me to step in and really explore and maybe push the boundaries of who I am as a professional. But at the same time, though, sharpening myself and helping this campus succeed. And so I just feel it's a great opportunity for me to step into something to really challenge myself and to hopefully for it to be a rewarding experience for all that I work with. Thank you for asking. My direct experience in generating revenue, most of the stuff that I've had to deal with in terms of manufacturer revenue is like, in my current position we work in the facilities management group. And so part of the issue that we have there in terms of generating revenue is about making sure that correct costs are recovered. And so sometimes it's not so much about creating new revenue, but it's about finding the revenue that's already there. So that's been part of my experience and part of my job has been to take revenue opportunities that were already there and maximizing those situations. For example, in my current situation, we had a work order management system that we've been historically using for many, many years. It turns out that when I walked into this job, that the revenue collection really wasn't happening the way it should have been going on. So it was a pretty stagnant amount of revenue being collected. Well, under the direction that I gave my staff, and we went through and we reviewed all of the materials and all of the information within the system, we were able to mine out almost about $250,000 of revenue that went uncollected over the prior year. And it's all because the information was already there. It just wasn't being looked at. And so we made sure we did a good job of kind of examining all the sources that we had, reviewing to make sure we were doing exactly what we needed to be doing, and then discovering some things where we could have done better, and then mine that out. But as for creating new revenue, right now I think there's a lot of stuff going around the state right now about starting new fees, excellence fees and things like that for campuses across the state. That's a very delicate place to be. I would imagine on this campus there's a level of participatory shared governance when it comes to creation of student fees. I think in any situation where you're trying to manufacture revenue and your revenue base is your students, it's a very delicate place to be. It's a very touchy place to be. And I think that if you were going to go down that road of introducing fees or doing something like that, that shared governance process that exists needs to be followed. We need to engage the campus constituency and figure out, is this going to work? Figure out what the thresholds are and engage them and tell them about the benefits of what we're looking to do. It's a team process. I don't think that situation ever resides with one person. It would take a group in order to kind of get something like that successfully passed and move forward. Outside of the university, maybe dealing with external constituencies, fundraising and things like that. I personally don't have a lot of experience doing that, but I'd like to believe that I'm good at talking to people and being able to convey a message about what this campus is all about, what the college's mission is, and to get people to buy into what we're trying to accomplish. And so if that means soliciting folks to invest in the campus by creating community partnerships, creating business partnerships with the local businesses to have them invest in this so that the money and the time they put into this institution can help them in the future, I think that's a great idea. I would welcome that opportunity to do that. Bargaining agreements. Right now, in my current position, I deal with 2 different unions. In total, I've dealt with about 4 different unions working in my current positions. I work with union reps and stewards, a lot of different places, dealing with informal issues, dealing with grievances. We successfully dealt with a lot of different things on our campus. So the main unions I'm dealing with now are trade unions and the clerical and custodial unions is the one I'm dealing with right now. Before that, I dealt with academic professionals and also the clerical unions there too. And so in my time working with unions and all the different experiences I've had with them, we are all hopefully trying to pull for the same thing, which is to have a great work environment for all the folks that are here, that they can get their jobs done, hopefully get paid well, and to enjoy their time while they're working here. And so that to me is a goal for everybody that works here. And so I'm hoping that in a spirit of collegiality with the unions, that we're all pulling for the same thing. Grievances happen, and I'm not afraid of that process. I think it's a good process. It's there for a reason. The unions have a charge and a responsibility to defend and work for the best for their staff, and I support that. But I also support moving the university or the college in the right direction, and hopefully we can all pull together in terms of working that way. My positive experiences from shared governance have been mostly from watching it in action. My time working at the Cal State system, specifically at the Chancellor's office, being a part of having the opportunity to sit in on the board meetings that went on and watching the student and the faculty interactions that came through in terms of their having a solid voice at the table and influencing discussion, influencing policy. It's been a great thing to watch happen. I think that as a campus community, it's not about just the faculty, it's not about just the students, it's not just about the administration. It's a large environment. It affects everybody and everybody works together. It really is like an ecosystem. And to have everybody participating and involved in it, I think, is highly important. And I don't think that there are many opportunities where you can exclude that. I think you have to pick and choose about the time that you enter into those kind of discussions. I think everything should be transparent, but there is a time to invite discussion in. And I think that sometimes in a position of leadership, you do have to move the agenda forward. And I think it's the leader's responsibility to identify those points and to say that this is something that we're moving forward on. It's within the rights of the agreements that we have set up, and we need to move forward on it. But also to invite that discussion in, invite the opinions that come in, because I think it's a valuable part of making a good decision. Thank you. I have not had any direct dealings with WASC myself on this issue. Most of the stuff I have been doing has been participatory, meaning that I've contributed documents or I've contributed certifications on certain processes or whatever else. That's been the extent of that. I've not ever had to deal directly with the WASC folks. But it is something that is acutely aware. When accreditation happens at Long Beach State, it's a big deal. Everybody, all hands are on deck. People are moving forward and trying to get things together. It's really good to know that our campus has a lot of things already in place for the accreditation process. It flows well. There's a lot of work involved, and I respect that, and there's a lot of stuff that goes into play. So I don't have a lot of direct experience in, like I said, dealing with that issue, particularly hands-on, but I have been supported around it, and I can see that it does take a large effort amongst many, many individuals in order to make it work. My leadership style. I like to believe that I lead by serving. That's my goal, is that for folks that I work with, the folks that I'm lucky enough to have work for me, my goal is to make them better leaders, is to help them do their jobs. I was telling Peter this morning in the midst of our interview that one of my responsibilities I feel like as a manager is to remove the roadblocks for those folks that I work for so they can do their jobs. And so that's part of what I feel like I need to do as a leader, is to just help them do their jobs, make them better leaders, provide a level of service to them so that they feel like they're being supported, that they're getting their things accomplished, that they're moving in the right direction. I was telling them also earlier this morning that when I first started in a position, one of the first things that I do is I meet with all of my direct reports, and I have a meeting and specifically lay out my expectations for them. What I expect them to do, where I expect them to be. At the same time, I invite them to tell me what their expectations are, for me particularly, for their areas and even for themselves. And at that point, I just wanted to create a relationship that builds trust, that way that, like I said earlier, that I can just clear the roadblocks, that they can just do their jobs and do it well. I just feel it's just easier, instead of coming in and trying to change everything, is to figure out what's going on, assume that they're doing it right, evaluating that, and then allowing them to do the job to the best of their capability. Sure. Administration for me in general is always there to support the overall mission of the campus, the college, the university. I'm not a big fan of administration taking the forefront. I do believe that we are a support organization, that our job is to help teachers teach and for students to learn. And so when it comes to curriculum, I would imagine this plays into part of when it comes to budget development and developing plans to support the academic mission of the campus. Part of that issue is to figure out and talk with the academic leaders to figure out what the needs of the departments are, the curriculum, figure out what those needs are and the demands of that, and develop plans according to as they fall in line with the strategic plan of the university or the campus to move forward in that right direction. So it's a matter of communicating, a matter of discussing, a matter of figuring out what the best needs are in a college of this size and the university that I come from, there are a lot of different folks on campus that have a lot of different wants and a lot of different needs. So there are a lot of hungry people at the table that want a little something in order to help their department be better. And so part of the leadership's role is to figure out the best general direction for that. Be transparent in the process so people understand why the decisions are made. I was saying this earlier that my goal is within administration too is that decisions are transparent. You know why the decision was made. You may not agree with it, which I can understand. Everybody has a position. You're not going to get everything that you want. And it may not be okay. It may be hard to deal with. But the reality of it is that you'll know why the decision was made. You just may not agree with it. But my goal is to make sure that as we go through the process of budget building or any kind of administrative process that we have, that it's clear and it's understandable as to why we do what we do. Well, I was asked this very same question this morning, and so part of the issue, this is a common trend. No, that's fine. No, it's a great question. Coming from a centralized environment like I was at the Cal State system and the Office of the Chancellor, I was able to be on that side of the table and kind of see when you got, for me, it was 23 campuses coming at you, and they all want more of what they already have. That's a common issue. And then coming out to the campus and seeing what was going on there, I completely turned my perspective around as to what it was to be on the campus versus being in the central office. So what I've learned working on campus and working particularly in the department that I'm in now, like you guys, my department at Long Beach State is one of the biggest departments on campus. We're the biggest one in my division by far. So I don't want to say we're the bully of the block, but we're the biggest dog in the house, that's for sure. And so there's a certain amount of respect and power that comes with that you need to choose to use respectfully. And so part of the responsibility of a leadership team here, dealing with the district office or dealing with chancellor's office or however that you need to deal with, is you need to understand what's going on here. And so as like with the budget building process, you're going out and talking with the academic areas, the service areas, wherever the areas are, then you got to understand what is going on. And so in working with Peter and working with the rest of the district, you need to identify where the demands are here, wield the power respectfully within the group, and then advocate for the position by understanding not only what's going on locally, but trying to put it in context of what's happening at the district-wide level. I think that it's never in a good position to be in a bully pulpit where you're just sitting there and railing off all the things that your campus needs. That's understandable. You need to be able to do that, and there will be a time and a place for that. But when you build a relationship at a certain level where you want to gain more, sometimes it's taking an understanding of the bigger picture and then kind of putting things in perspective as to what's really needed in the long run. So sometimes it's about putting the campus's needs aside for a little bit in order to gain a bigger foothold and then coming back to the table and getting more. So it's always a negotiation process, but you do need to take a stand first of understanding what the local needs are and then putting in the context of the district, but then also pushing our agenda forward and whipping that pulpit when you need to, but doing what you need to. First of all, a quick view on strategic plans and what they mean to me. There's obviously strategic plans happen at all levels. It's not just one for the campus. Departments have them, programs have them, offices have them. You yourself could have one. So I think it's very important to have a plan, strategically be thinking about where you want to be 3 years from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now. Also, too, taking into an account some of the threats and other things that are out there, the external items, the political movements or economic situation, all those other things to kind of influence and to kind of build a plan that works, that's cohesive, but that's also flexible, too. It can't be something that's completely written in stone. It's a guiding principle, but there's always multiple ways to get there. So you always got to be willing to kind of to move with that. But in terms of where we see this for this campus and campuses in the future, it appears to be over the last, say, 10 years or even longer, actually, that the state has been declining in their support of public higher education. It's very evident that the numbers speak for themselves, and a lot of the onus is being put on the backs of the students in terms of increased fees, classes have been cut. So what's going on now, what I see happening is there is a fight for available resources. There are scraps on the table, and everybody's fighting for the same amount. I think that as the strategic plans for this campus, for any campus that's really wanting to do it, you have to build a plan and build a reasoning in order to convince folks that this is a wise investment. Part of that is good graduation rates, good success in the community, productive graduates that work well, that go right out of a vocational program or out of this program into a four-year university and do well there. So part of that is convincing them and putting together good data that explains what we're doing, how we're doing it, and how good we are at it. And I think that this university has, or this campus has, a relative good level of success at what you guys do here. You guys are featured and focused on excellence, which I think is great. And so if I'm given the opportunity to be a part of that, and I would want to continue that by putting together concrete pieces of information, whether it's financial data or HR data or academic data that can put together and show and feature what we do here as a campus, to explain what we do and how well we do it, and that when we go and we talk at the district level or even higher, it's to tell them that this is a good investment for them to come in and give us money, to give us resources, to give us time, for them as the community to invest in us with their time and their effort. I think it goes a long way towards explaining what we can do by proving it to folks, and not just talking about it, but showing real data and real information that supports that. So I think that's a very, very strong thing to do. That's a great question. I appreciate that. I feel like I'm at an opportune time where I have a lot of experience, a lot of energy, a lot of desire to make a difference. I feel like this is an opportunity for me, for you, to invest in me, to give me the opportunity to take this university or this college campus and make it more than what it is today. Not that today is bad, but there's always room for improvement. And I feel like that there are ways that I could help you get done the things that you need to do. I feel like that I can assist you in ironing out the administrative functions, cleaning up areas that may be slightly confusing, and to be as public and as transparent as possible with the things that we do. And I feel like I can help you succeed in that area. I feel like I can help you succeed in providing the utmost support from an administrative point of view so that you can focus on teaching, you can focus on your students, you can focus on doing the things that you need to do because the administrative stuff is taken care of. You got solid processes dealing with HR, you got solid processes when your money is there, you know it's being accounted for well, and that you know you're being taken care of. So that all that little stuff that can be annoyances is taken care of. That's what I feel like I can do for you, to help you do your job better by giving you the support that you need, so you don't have to worry. The worst one I would say is obviously in the last few years, everybody's dealing with the financial shortfalls that have come through. I know particularly in my department on campus at Long Beach State, we took about a 10 to 12% budget reduction in our areas. And our budget is made up of about 85% people. And so when we initially asked to put together plans in order to figure out a way to kind of meet the budget gap, unfortunately, these discussions had to involve people. And we have part of our staff there and within the facilities management area, physical planning, are low-paid workers, custodians, groundskeepers, things like that. And it's a very difficult decision to look at and figure out folks that you know are supporting families, probably second or third jobs that they're working in order to be and to consider that. And so I worked really hard with my management team to figure out a way to not lay off people. And with that 10 or 12% reduction, we had to eliminate one or two temporary positions that were part-timers just to help bridge the gap, but we didn't lay off one person. We were able to figure out ways to make our resources work better, reduce some service partially, unfortunately, but we had to reduce some service, not buy things, mine out the revenue I was talking about earlier to look at our processes, looking at how much revenue we could get out, trying to make do with what we had. There were some tough decisions. We created some budget structure that forced people to look at how and what they were spending their money on. It was a difficult process. People weren't used to functioning that way. They were just used to doing what they needed to do in order to function and do their jobs. But we forced them to stop and look and question everything that they bought, everything that they spent their money on, everything they spent their time on. And it was an overall process to look and see what we could do to accomplish it. And not only did we meet that 12% gap, but we finished in the black. So I'm proud of that. Thank you. My current responsibilities now, I deal with a multitude of different functions. Like I said, I do have IT and customer service, HR, finance, they all report to me right now. And in my previous experience, all administrative functions in the other areas, slightly different, but more so now that I have a bunch of different folks that I work with. So there are lots of different demands. I have managers in each one of those areas that has to manage their specific areas. They have their needs and they have their wants that they're trying to accomplish. And so like I said earlier on, my goal is that for those that are working with me, that I like to sit down with them and figure out what's going on in their areas. Earlier today we talked about what I would do in my first 90 days. My first 90 days, I would come in and I would figure out what's going on. I'm not a big believer of going in and flipping over the apple cart and changing things just to change things because that's the way that I would do it. I'm not a big fan of that. I'd rather go in and look at an organization, spend some time getting to know what's going on, getting to know the people that are working, understanding what their challenges are, understanding what's difficult for them, what's easy for them, what are they really succeeding at, what are they not so succeeding at so much, and then ways that we can kind of strategize to make it better. And so I like to keep a process where I am open to meeting with folks on a regular basis, that they come and have a willingness and we develop a relationship where there's a huge amount of trust there, that they can come and they can tell me, I'm struggling with this, or this isn't going well, or you're struggling and you're not doing well, and I need you to pay attention to this issue. It would be great if I had, or any of us had eyes that went 360 degrees around and we could see everything that's coming at us. But my goal is that with the management team that I'd be working with was to build a sense of trust where we're all pulling for the same thing. We all want to succeed and have our areas do well. I want them to succeed. I want them to move on and get promotions and do the best that they can do. And so part of that is just spending time learning, understanding, and just figuring out ways that we can work together as a team. I'm a big sports guy. I love sports, and teamwork is very big to me. And I like to be in a team where we're all pulling for the same thing. It means a lot to me. I encourage that kind of environment. I encourage an honest environment where we can have good, honest conversations whenever possible. Well, we're honest, right? Unfortunately, yes, I am. Am I willing to change that?
That's a game changer question right there.
I think I might be done with this at this point. Wow, that's probably the toughest question I had to face all day. I'm a Dodger fan, and unabashed, but just so everybody knows, I was a Dodger fan way before anybody bought it and spent all this money on it. I've been a Dodger fan for a long, long time, for some very lean times. And so I think that it absolutely killed me when the Giants won the World Series a few years ago, in all honesty. But respect, you guys are a great team, just not this year. Yes? Okay. The different kinds of funds that I had to work with when I was there was obviously the general fund, and student fee revenues at a time used to be held in a different fund. Now they're a part of the general fund. They're deposited directly in the general fund now. Trust fund sources from the lottery. Those are restricted funds in terms of they can be used only for certain academic activities and certain positions. So I had experience with that. We have trust funds now that I use on campus now from fee generation, from revenue that our shops and stuff do for different work around campus. So we have money that comes in. So very familiar with different kinds of restrictions on funds and how the money can be used, how it's deposited, where it comes from, its intent to be used. Usually there's language behind that in some capacity and some education code that requires it to be used in a certain way. So I'm familiar with that. And everyone's a little bit different in terms of how it's being done. But very aware of, I think the term that I used before is a flavor of money, that each fund has that level to it in terms of what it can and can't be used for. So in order to be a successful financial manager in this kind of environment, you need to understand, I hate to call it the rules of the game, but the reality of it is understanding how the money can be used and maximizing that to the best of its ability. That's to me, is really key. In my time working at Long Beach State, we got about 35,000, 36,000 full-time equivalent students on campus. So we've got a really large student population. And within that, there are a lot of folks that you come in contact with on a daily basis. In my time in enrollment services, it was really interesting to see the different types of folks that came into the area looking for assistance and looking for help. And what was really, for lack of a word, neat about watching it go on was watching our folks helping everybody out there's language barriers, there's cultural barriers, there's so many different things that folks encounter on a daily basis. But having a spirit of wanting to help, I think, overrides a lot of those things. And I think that's just really important to have folks that you work with that have that willingness to do that. I think it's very difficult to work with folks that are unwilling to look beyond what they perceive to be the right thing without kind of understanding or willing to look into what is affecting that other person's point of view. Meaning, there could be cultural issues, there could be past history issues that are affecting coloring their viewpoint on certain things. And I think it's to the point of being ignorant if you just simply make a decision without consideration to the other person about where they're coming from and why they think what they think. And so in a campus community such as this, it requires a level of having a willingness to have an open conversation with folks, to engage folks on a lot of different levels, whether it's talking about just the decision that's being made, but talking about them as a person and figuring out who they are and figuring out what's influencing them and what helps them be who they are. It's difficult, I think, if you get up into certain positions to be able to engage that on an everyday basis, but I think it would be something that I would encourage my staff and the folks that I work with to do on a regular basis, to get to know the people that you work for, to understand where they come from, and because it helps us all work together that much better. Thank you, I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Thank you.